Man, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, trying to tee this one up for ages. And I've been really lucky. I've been able to connect with a whole bunch of different ninjas from the US, and hear their story. And obviously, like yourself and other people, I've been watching you guys from afar for so long. So it's like it's really cool to be able to to be able to talk to you and actually learn
Absolutely, man.
and be able to connect. So I'm on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um,
dude.
Man, I mean, where do we begin? I was actually just doing some reading before. I mean, like, your life's pretty much almost like a little bit of a movie itself. Like,
I've had a journey, man. I've lived. I'm only 29, but I feel like I've lived a lot of lives by now.
yeah, I can relate, man. It's crazy. So take me, I kind of asked this with everyone. So take me back to what, when you were a kid. I was just reading before about, I guess
Yeah.
growing up in Philly. Like, what was that like for you? Like, it sounded pretty intense.
Yeah, dude, it's I had one of those lives where I could easily make a movie out of it, in my opinion. I've lived through so many different experiences growing up in Philly, man. I grew up in the hood, uh, and it was rough. Like it was super rough, man. I remember being like 8 years old and looking outside the window and watching drug dealers like just beat people up, like beat up passerbys. And I watched people like, at the corner of my block where I live, it was a drug house. So I'd be walking to school and I'd be watching people shoot up. You know what I mean? Like I saw a lot. I saw a lot as a child, things that you shouldn't see, a lot of things that you shouldn't see. But luckily for me, I had very, very strong-willed, very aggressively protective parents. I like to say they were aggressively protective because whenever I could have been doing something just not even remotely, bad or what you would call rebellious or anything, but they would get on me, man. They'd be about it right away. They'd be like, no, you are not gonna end up like those guys. You're not gonna end up, what I mean? Like they were always on top of me. And they had to be because I was growing up at a time where just influence was everywhere. My friends from school were getting into it, gangs were everywhere in Philadelphia where I lived. I mean, just about everybody I knew was in a gang. Everyone I knew was in a gang.
Mm.
And I wasn't. So that opened me up to being targeted by a lot of bullies. Yeah, man, it was it was rough. It was rough growing up in Philly. It was really rough. But luckily that also pushed my parents to involving me in sports. They had this mindset where as long as we can keep him away from the neighborhood, he's not gonna turn out like anybody that we have to worry about. So they put me in sports probably at age 6. I want to say was like the first time they put me in karate,
Mm.
and I stuck with that for about 4 years. I stuck with martial arts for 4 years, did a lot of different styles, and then when I was 10, they put me in gymnastics classes. I started showing an interest in acrobatics. My dad was a gymnast when he was in middle school and high school, so he was like, yeah, we'll just throw him in gymnastics, see how he does. And I kind of just took off with that, man. I loved it. It stuck. And the next thing I knew, by the time I was 12, I was doing gymnastics like 6 days a week.
Wow.
I would go to school, I'd come home, do my homework, and then my parents would immediately drive me to gymnastics. I'd be there till I got there at like 6:30. I'd be there till 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, I get there. My parents were like I said, they were aggressively protective. They were doing everything in their power to make sure I wouldn't end up like everyone in our neighborhood. So
Mm.
they didn't even give me the chance to explore like any of the other things that the kids from school were doing. I had no idea half the time because I was always either in the house doing my homework or I was at the gym doing gymnastics. So uh, I was very lucky in that regard that I just had parents that they were doing everything in their power. They worked between the two of them. They worked 5 jobs. My mom,
Oh, Jesus.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
My
goodness.
mom worked 2 jobs. She'd work an overnight shift at the hospital, and then immediately, as soon as she got off work at 6 in the morning, she'd go for her next job. She'd go home, get maybe like 4 or 6 hours of rest, and then go right back to work. And she did that for 6 years. My
Ugh,
dad worked, yeah, dude.
my
My dad worked two
goodness.
jobs. Yeah, he worked at the Met in Philly, and then he worked 2.5 hours away from home in Atlantic City, another spot where he was able to get a job, just to make sure they had enough to put me through gymnastics, which for a low income family was very, very expensive. But they were just, yeah, man, they were aggressive. They were like, they were just going to do everything in their power to make sure I turned out okay. So,
Wow.
I got lucky. Man. I got really, really lucky. I like to say.
Man, I thought my life was interesting. Jeez.
Yeah. But at the same time, man, with that, it's so hard for me to even though I saw a lot as a kid. I saw a lot and I experienced a lot. I can't say that I had a bad childhood, man, because I think I had one of the best childhoods in the world, because my parents, like, I got to see the best of my parents just through their hard work and their effort to show me to lead by example. They wanted me to have an example to look up to, because really there was no examples around me other than bad examples. So they did everything in their power to just lead by example, and wanted me to reap everything I could from their hard work. So they were selfless, man. I think my parents are the coolest people in the world. Every time I look back on it, you don't appreciate these things when you're younger. You only see the things that you don't have. You know what I mean? You only see the things that you want and that you don't have and your parents can do for you. But then you turn out to be, pushing 30, and you're like, man, actually, you guys were all right. You guys were actually pretty cool. So, yeah, I tell people now, like, I had probably the coolest childhood that, you can have, in my opinion.
Nah, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's when you reflect back and you think, and I'm the same. I'm like, man, I was lucky. Like, even just as a kid, because are you an only child? Or?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same here. So, like, even just the luxury of some of the travel I was able to do as a child, like, man, like, can you imagine spending your 7th birthday in Legoland in London?
Yeah.
Like when I think back, I'm like, yo, that was
like how that happened. Like I was able that actually happened. Yeah, that was my past.
It was amazing. So yeah, no,
yeah, that's so cool, dude.
I'm totally with you in that appreciation for the life you've lived, and that's wonderful. I mean, obviously you've done great things. So what is it about gymnastics? So what is it about it that sort of piqued your interest? And obviously next minute you were doing it 6 days a week. What was it?
Man, dude, I remember. So it started off with martial arts, because I was a martial artist first, and I got really good at it. I started doing judo. I started with karate, and then I did judo, and then I did a little bit of just, my parents saw that I was getting bullied at school, so they taught me like practical real world defense, and I started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Krav, and I also did Jeet Kune Do, which is not a form of combative sport and mixed martial arts, but they put me in that just to learn how to defend myself at school. And through all this, you start looking for influences and, people to look up to while you're doing this. And I remember the very first time I saw a Jackie Chan movie, and he was just doing all these like weird flips and like climbing gates and like flying through like really tight spaces. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, that is so awesome. And I remember taking all the cushions off of the couch, and I was using the springs in the couch to like, jump and do flips onto the cushions. And my parents came downstairs and they were just livid. They're like, what are you doing? And I didn't stop. I just kept doing it. Whenever they weren't around, I would do these things. And my parents were like, we gotta do something before he kills himself. we gotta do something. And like I said, my dad was a former gymnast, and he started doing some research, trying to find if there was an area where he could put me in some like gymnastics classes. And luckily, it just, fate turns out that one of his old teammates in high school was starting a rec program at Temple University in Philadelphia. He reached out to his friend, and he said, yeah, bring him on in. Like, we'll get him in some classes, see if he's any good. And I went, and the coach was like, he's a natural, we should sign him up for classes now. Like, he's 10 years old. This is a great age, we should just do it. And they put me in classes 2 days a week. At that time, I was 10 years old. They put me in classes like 2 days a week. And by the time I was 12, they were like, all right, like, he needs to be on a team. He needs to be competing, because he's too good to just be doing these like 1 day a week classes. And my parents sat me down, and they were like, listen, we see that you take an interest in gymnastics, but we can't afford both martial arts and gymnastics. You're going to have to pick one or the other. And I was like, no, it'd be cool to be a Power Ranger. Why not? Like, yeah, put me in gymnastics. I already got a good foundation in martial arts. Like, I want to learn some flips now. You know? And they were like, all right, cool. We'll put you in gymnastics.
I love that. Priority, Power Ranger.
Dude, about when I was a kid, man, everything was just the influence of being some sort of superhero of some sort. And I think I was, you know, looking back as a kid, I was like, I'm so sick of being bullied. I just want to be like these like cool superheroes I see on TV and just like flip around the bullies and, you know, this and that. I was such a silly kid, man. But that's like what led to it, really. It was just literally the desire to be a superhero. I'm not even kidding, dude. It was a desire to be a superhero.
were you one of those kids that would get up at, this is what I would do, get up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday and watch WB network, or was it WB cartoons until 11? And it was like, you know, Pokemon, Digimon,
Yes.
Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yes.
Static Shock,
Yeah.
all the
For me, so for me, it wasn't so much. I did watch all of those, but for me, that wasn't my driving force. My driving force was Spider-Man and watching all of like the Marvel comics. Here in the States,
Yeah,
they came on right after school. So I would literally, man, like I'm talking by the time I was old enough to kind of walk home and go to school by myself, dude, I would sprint home, which was about, I want to say like a quarter of a mile. Like I just a little kid, like you would have thought like, you know, something was wrong, like something happened to me. As soon as the bell rang, I just took off. Like I was like, I gotta make it home to watch Spider-Man. Gotta make it home to watch Spider-Man. And I always got home just in time to watch it. But I was determined almost every single day. I think that's not true. I think it came on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I was determined to just make it home to watch Spider-Man, dude. That was my driving force. That was my driving force, dude.
That's, oh man, that's amazing. You're bringing back all these memories when I was back in New York. It was like,
oh my God, the priorities of kids.
Justice League, the old cartoon, cartoon one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
Oh, that was
dude,
awesome.
The priorities of kids back. Oh my God. Kids these days won't know, dude. One of my friends was so funny. He put up one of the ninjas, Michael Johnson. He put up a meme earlier today where all the ninjas were like, "Oh my God, the kids today have no idea about Power Rangers." And it's so fun we're talking about this now because he was like, he goes, you know, kids of today will never understand the stress of being a child and watching the Green Ranger go bad and give all of the rest of the Power Rangers the business. And I'm like, oh, you're bringing back so many memories. I'm like, that's when I was the most stressed out as a kid. You know, that's when I was most stressed. I was like, it would be so nice to go back to that just for a little bit, being so stressed out about something so insignificant.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh,
dude, those were the times.
So, you know, for you, I guess, what was your favorite skill, I guess, that you were learning in gymnastics as you were growing up?
Oh man.
Was there one in particular?
So it changed throughout like my career, but I think when I was younger, like when I first started getting into gymnastics, I just wanted to learn how to do flips. I just wanted to learn how to flip around like the Power Rangers. So the floor exercise, like back handsprings and, you know, back tugs, all that, the entry level things of gymnastics, I was always so interested in learning. I didn't want to do any of the other apparatuses. I could have cared less about vault and high bar and pommel horse, P-bars, all of those I didn't care about. I absolutely hated pommel horse. And then as I got older, I started just enjoying learning the gymnastic skills in general. So I started gravitating towards vault and having like really, you know, explosive vaults. And I learned very early on that I had a lot of power. I was very blessed with a lot of power in gymnastics. And then towards the end of my career, high bar, horizontal bar was my favorite because I got to fly around. That was really where I developed my love of just flying through the air, and was on that apparatus was high bar.
Yeah, well,
anything where I could just fly. It was just, I was like, this is for me. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
And boy, do you fly, man.
I I try my best, dude. I try my best. It's my thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if, you literally come up with your own airline one day and you just see that big Phoenix logo on the side of a Air 380
Well,
bus or something.
man, so well, that's a funny story too because I actually hate airplanes.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's a running joke in American Ninja Warrior. The producers of our ninja just they get me with it every single time. But I hate flying on airplanes. I have such a weird, strange control phobia when it comes to getting on planes in general. Like I don't have a fear of heights. Like obviously, like I love heights. If anything, like I'm a daredevil in that sense. But
Hmm.
there's something about getting on planes that just freak me out, dude. I don't like it at all. I hate it. I hate it every single time.
Is it maybe because it's out of your control and
100%.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's absolutely what it is. It's completely out of my control. Something goes wrong. There's nothing that I can do to save myself. Not a thing that I can do. So I think that aspect of it, and it's so irrational, but just it's just terrible. I hate it.
I'll tell you, man, if you ever have the luxury, I've had this luxury twice in my life of flying first class, and these are just getting bumped up by, just by luck.
Yeah.
You'll forget it, all your fears when you're in this big, nice chair with this big pillow, and you can just relax
Nope.
and fall asleep. Nope.
Nope. So I was very lucky season oh God, what season was it? I'm gonna say it was season 8 or 9, going to Vegas on my
Yeah.
way to Vegas for the show. And there was a guy in first class. Me and one of the other ninjas flew together. And we were talking to this guy at the airport. He was like, "Oh, you guys are an American Ninja Warrior." We were wearing our hoodies, and
Yeah.
we were telling him about the show and all of this. And he was like, "That's so awesome! My daughter loves that show. She's such a huge fan." Like telling us like the ninjas, and we were like, "Yeah, we know them," and blase blase. And he was going to Vegas for some like work event, and
Mm.
we were like, "Well, this is the time that that the show films. If you want to come and check it out with your daughter, please let us know. Like, we come and check out the show." And he was like, "That's so awesome! Like, you guys are so cool." And we were like, "Yeah, like, come and check us out." So we get on the plane, and then we found out that our seats had been bumped up to first class.
Wow.
This guy was the owner of like some club in Vegas that
Oh,
he was
okay.
going to. He was like the owner, and he bumped our seats up for us.
Wow.
And we sat in first class. And the whole time, we're talking and everything, but dude, like the plane takes off, I'm gripping the handle, like the rest, like my life depends on it. I got a forearm pump just from gripping the sides of the freaking like armrest, dude. Like I hate it. I hate it, dude. I hate it. Nothing makes it better. Nothing.
Oh, fair enough. Although maybe, if anything, maybe you need more comfort, but I guess not.
Dude, I think it's just a mind thing I got to get over. It's just I'm in my head about the fact that the second something goes wrong, well, if something goes wrong, there's just nothing I can do. Like I have to just sit and pray, and I'm like, that's not good enough for me. I need to be able to save myself. So, I don't know.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So, we're coming, obviously you're growing up with gymnastics, you're getting good at it. I think you were almost getting ready for the Olympics, and then you had this thing happen to you with your knee. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened then?
So, I tore my meniscus and I had a partial tear in my ACL. I
Wow.
was How old was I at this? I was 16 when it happened. I was 16 years old when it happened. And a meniscus, you can go without a meniscus, right? You don't need to have surgery on a torn meniscus, but an ACL was the worry. And I remember talking to my coach about it, and he was like, "Well, you could kiss." I mean, he was like, "You can kiss 2008 Olympics goodbye, basically, if you do that." And I was like, "All right, well, let me just like rehab it and try and see if there's any way to heal this thing. Maybe it'll heal on its own. It's only partially torn. Who knows? Like, we'll see what we can do." So I took the rest of the season off. Well, I still competed at nationals, but I think I only competed maybe 2 or 3 meets that season. I only did like 2 or 3 meets, and next season I was like, okay, my yeah, it was my senior year. I was like, yeah, my senior year, I'm just gonna come back full force. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to do everything. I'm sorry, my junior year. I was like, my junior year, I'm going to come back with full force. At this point, it's 2008. We're trying to figure out, Olympic team, team trials and all of this, and senior national team and all of these requirements that I need to be able to qualify to go to the Olympic trials. And I'm like, okay, like I'm just going to come back full force. I'm going to pull out all of my biggest, skills that I've never competed before just to see. And in practice, 1 week before nationals, where they pick the junior national team and senior national team to be able to go to these international competitions to then go to the Olympic trials. 1 week before this very important meet, this all important meet, I completely just ruptured my knee, just completely blew it out 1 week before. And I'm devastated. Like I'm completely and totally just devastated at this point.
Wow.
So I kind of gave up on gymnastics for a good year after that. I gave up on gymnastics for a year, just tried to just weigh my options and just see. And then, I was talking to some coaches. I was being recruited by Ohio State and Oklahoma at the time, which were like very prestigious colleges for men's gymnastics, like literally the two top gymnastics teams. So they were recruiting me and they were like, well, we've had athletes go through this before. Like we've seen some incredible athletes like come back from this and make it to the Olympics. We believe that you can do that. And I was like, all right, cool. Like it's nice to have some support, this is awesome. Like very cool. So these coaches, head coaches, they stayed in touch with me pretty much the whole time, the whole time. And they were like, look, we can set you up here, get you on the team after you've healed and you've done your rehab and everything. And let's start, training for the, 2012 Olympics. Let's look towards that. I'm like, oh, cool. Like we're going to do this. This is my comeback. So I started training in 2010, started getting all my skills back. And by now, this is like 2 years after my injury. Two or 3 years after my injury, and I'm, getting all my skills back, finally kind of getting back on my feet, and I'm making some real headway. And then I'm set to do my very first competition in 3 years on the elite level. And I wasn't going to school at that time yet, but I was going to compete at the elite level with one of the coaches. I had made that decision in my mind. And 2 months before my very first competition in 2011, blew out my knee again. Blew out my knee again, dude. And I'm like, all right, like I can't keep going through this. I was like, I literally can't keep going through this. The level of torture that you have to be willing to, I feel like people don't really understand this unless they've actually been there. I'm sure Olivia understands it better than anyone, but the amount of torture you have to be willing to put your body through just to make it or have a chance of making it to the Olympics is something that is it's so mind wrenching at the, in the time that you're going through it, because they're like, is this really worth it? Is this, what am I really doing this for ultimately? And I had lost that, to me, it wasn't worth it anymore. I couldn't remember why I was even doing it. And I was like, all right, like I want to be able to walk when I'm in my 30s, I don't want to have to walk with a limp by the time I'm like 40 years old. So I was like, I got to give it up. It's just not, it wasn't meant to be. So that was how it ended. And then, I was like, what now? Like, what do we do now? It was, dude, it's so weird. It's the life after dedicating your life to a sport for, the mass majority of your living life. It's like, well, once it's over, it's so weird. It is so bizarre living life after that commitment. It's weird, dude.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, the only thing I can, I guess, relate to in that sense is maybe having studied something and putting work in for many years, realizing after, as I'm trying to get into this industry, that I'm not happy, and I couldn't understand why. And I put in all this effort and work in, and it was quite depressing to think I've just wasted, 3 years of my life. I've sacrificed. I not only have I studied, but I've been doing all these placements for years. No parties, no this, and then I get into this industry, and I go, oh, I don't like it. What am I going to do? So that's the only thing I can sort of. I can sort of connect that with, but obviously
it's very similar. it's very similar in that, and just that kind of like shell shocking moment. The only difference is you have that luxury of deciding that you want to get out versus being forced out before
Forced,
you're ready
exactly.
to.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
no.
mean?
Yeah.
That's the only difference. It's like it's very mind. It's just it twists and turns your minds in so many different directions of like just purpose and like what was the point of all of this, and it
Mm,
sends you into a depression, man. Like it,
mm.
I've so many of my friends who and my former teammates who have had to do life without gymnastics after it was over, we've always found ourselves like, man, you were depressed. Like I mean, me and my teammates have these conversations all the time. It's like, yeah, dude, I was so depressed. Like I was having these thoughts and those thoughts, and it's so common, man. I think that goes with any sport, not just gymnastics, but it's so common for people, I think, to just like lose sight of purpose, like,
Mm.
once these things are over.
Well, I guess like you said, like your tunnel vision, focusing on this goal.
Yes.
It's there's nothing else around you except this
Yeah.
this 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 one thing, and then if it's ripped from you, it's like, well, yeah, what, like you weren't looking
What
at
was the
anything
point?
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I totally understand, and yeah, I can imagine how hard that was. So I was reading before about how you sort of came across ninja. Oh no, so you went back to martial arts. Sorry, you went back.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And did you study anything new? You mentioned before you did Krav Maga, I think. Did you
Yeah.
go to
Krav. I did Krav. Just more so for just practical real world self defense.
Yeah.
But I remember. I just remember being at the time. So I went into this really, really bad depression after
Mm.
gymnastics was over. I'm like, what do I do now? Like I like, what do I do? Like I literally don't know what to do. And I just remember being so angry, just like such an angry kid at the time. I was only 21. I had literally no purpose in my mind. I felt like I had no purpose. I was just angry. I was angry at the world.
Mm.
And I remember still living in Philly, living in an area that's not like the greatest. And I just remember walking down the street, man, and just hoping something was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then when I realized that that was my train of thought, I was like, this is not good. I got to figure something out. Like, this is not a way to live. You know what I mean? Walking down the street and just hoping that something happens. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
once I realized I was having those thoughts, I reached out to some of my old martial arts instructors from when I was a kid, and they were like, "Yeah, like come on in, like we have new gyms." One of my old instructors was actually just starting to train MMA fighters. And he
Mm.
actually trained Holly Holm.
Oh wow.
She was training in the area, so he was like, "Come on out, man! Like like we got a cage. Like I love to see you. It's been a long time. I'm proud of everything you've done." So long story short, went there and started falling in love with martial arts again. It kind of got me out of this really dark depression that I was having at the time. And yeah, training. I started training wrestling because I had never done wrestling before. I had horrible groundwork. So I started doing some wrestling. Went back to judo. Started doing judo and kickboxing.
Mm.
And I started very low key. Started training to be a sparring partner for UFC hopefuls.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
started about 2 years before Ninja. Before I found Ninja, year or 2 years before I found Ninja, I started being a sparring partner. Um, Never really had any aspirations to get into UFC, but I loved sparring. I loved being a sparring partner. So that's kind of like where my journey led to in martial arts once I came back there. It was
Mm.
fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was there's a lot of really weird. I can't even say macho because the girls are just as badass as we are. You know what I mean? In martial arts, so it's just so much. I don't even know the right word for it. Just so much like grit and camaraderie amongst fighters,
Mm.
which was like really cool to be a part of, especially someone like me that just needed to be able to get that anger and aggression out in a constructive way. So I credit a lot of, Ninja, although Ninja did that for me as well, but I credit a lot of the rebuilding of um, that part of me that I lost after gymnastics. I give so much of that credit to martial arts.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Obviously,
Yeah,
it was there right after, and you know that,
right after,
and there's
exactly.
something about punching a bag, or maybe you know even just sparring. It's quite an exhilarating
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
feeling, and
It's a great way to get out frustration, man. I'm telling you. And so whenever anyone, a lot, especially my friends and like family members, I feel like I'm at the age now where people come to me for advice, especially after everything that I've
Mm.
been through. But I feel like I always take people to the gym with me, and we'll go hit the bag, and I'll do some sparring sessions with them, and it just works, man. I tell everyone, look, you got something you want to get off your chest, just go hit a bag. Just go to the gym and hit the bag.
Oh man. So what was it about Ninja? So I think someone recommended it to you. What is it that sort of
Yeah.
sparked what was it that sparked that flame again for you when you looked into it?
So I was just chilling at home, watching TV, and I happened to turn on Ninja Warrior, just very spontaneously, just turned it on. And I was watching it. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I still remember the very first person that was on was Flip Rodriguez. And he was just flying, man. I was like, this is dope. What was that? This is so
Mm.
cool. Of the season so far. I guess the season was on currently,
Mm.
and it was right before they went to Vegas, and they
Mm.
were doing a best of the season so far. So I got to see all of these like really cool um, uh, athletes do these things. I was like, this is awesome. It caught my attention. So I ended up watching the rest of the summer, and it was stage two, and then out of nowhere, one of my old teammates from gymnastics, Dan Galazinski, he popped up on TV, and I'm like, wait,
What?
what? I know that guy. I did gymnastics with him, and my friends are like, whatever. I'm like, no, I did gymnastics with that guy. Look here, look at the picture. So yeah, it just piqued my interest, and I ended up reaching out to him, and I'm like, dude, like, since when are you on TV? Like, this is so awesome, And I ended up asking him, I'm like, hey, do you think it's possible I can, come and check this out with you sometime? He's like, yeah, I'm in the process of actually building my gym. So went to his gym, and I absolutely sucked, dude. I didn't do anything the first time, now I think about it. And I didn't even get the salmon ladder at all that entire day. Could not understand the salmon ladder whatsoever. It took me like 10 attempts on the work ball just to commit to doing it. I couldn't do it. Yeah, dude, it was awful, dude. It was awful. So uh yeah, that happened. And then I just remember being hooked after that. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm better than this. Like, I'm an athlete. I should be able to do this. So I just started going back. I went back almost every single weekend after that.
Oh, that's amazing. Isn't it funny? Like
Yeah.
whenever you think back to your first ever ninja experience, you go, my God, I was horrible. Like, it's just, I mean, like I think everyone has that experience. I don't think I've met someone that's gone, yeah, I was just cruising it. Like, this was
Yeah.
great. It's so funny.
Alicia
So,
Barclay Stockett, who just posted a video of her crushing the salmon ladder, her very first day ever doing ninja. And I'm like, all right, show off, there are some ninjas who are just super naturally gifted their very first time. I was not one of them. I was not one of those.
oh man, that's hilarious. So, yeah, and I think, you had that defining moment. And I think that happens with, quite a lot of people. So it's, you experience it, you probably, you found it a bit tough, but you either choose to go, you know what, I want to try this. I want to keep going with it, or you give
Yep.
up. So,
Yep.
yeah, and I find there's a lot of people who have that moment, and, a lot of people give up. And obviously there's people like us who keep going. So, you kept going. What was there certain obstacles that you started to just get really good at, or were there some that you were still struggling with, or what was happening leading up to the first season for you?
So leading up,
Or
I'm
your
really
first
glad you
season, I
brought
should
that
say.
up. I'm really glad you brought that up because um, I actually did have that moment of almost giving up in Ninja. So
Mm.
it was it was right before one of my friends convinced me to try out for it. It was like right before, and I was watching. I went to the gym doing this open gym session, and one of the coaches started a like he just started an obstacle course. He was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna put together an obstacle course. Anyone who wants to try it, like, come on over and do it." And I
Mm.
was like, "Yeah, like this looks fun. I'd love to do it. Like that's why I'm here. I like to learn ninja, right?" So I, I failed every single obstacle. I failed every single one. I think I made maybe 3 or 4 moves on the cliffhanger before I fell. Um, Nothing. Literally, I failed everything, and I just remember being so just beat down and just humbled because I was like, I like should be able to do this. And then I watched other people go
Mm.
completely crushing this course, like made it look so easy. And I'm just like, you know what, like there's a sport for everyone. Maybe this just isn't for me. Like I wasn't used to sucking at something. Like at that time I was not used to being bad at something. So
Mhm.
I was like, maybe this just isn't for me, And I was like, yeah, it's just not for me. Like whatever. Like I'll still have fun swinging around the bars and like doing like the bar star stuff.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, I'll continue doing that. And then I remember it was Chris Wilczewski, who is one of my best friends now, but he really took me under his wing. He was like, dude, like I've seen you do stuff. And he was like, listen, no one gets this their first try. Like it has taken a lot of us years. Everyone who did this course has been here for like 3 years.
Mm.
You have been coming in for like a total of maybe like 3 or 4 days. So he was like, just look, man, stick with it. He was like, I do, privates, like just stick with it. Come and train with me and the guys. He really took me under his wing, and I was like, that's cool. Like that's really nice. Like he didn't have to do that, and I did. I started training with him, and that was also how I met Jamie Ron and Mike Bernardo, Noel Reyes. That was how all of those OG ninjas. That was how I met them, was through Chris, and all of those guys just kind of pulled me in, and they started putting me through courses that were at my level, but very intelligently pushing me so that I would continue to get stronger. They
Mm.
really took me under their wing. And I think it was the camaraderie and just how awesome those guys were to this newcomer at the time that made me stick with it. It wasn't
Mm.
anything necessarily that I was doing that I was like, yeah, I'm getting good at this, because I didn't feel like that until after probably my first year in Ninja. I don't think I started like looking at myself as like, I can do Ninja until like probably a year later. It
Mm.
was the camaraderie. It was literally how close all of the ninjas were and just how willing they were to just bring in this newcomer, someone they didn't, have to give it any time to. That made me stick with it. I was like, if nothing else, I want to just keep coming back because I feel like these guys are really cool and I love to, be in their little circle. So I think it was
Mm.
that.
No, that's awesome. I think,
Yeah.
and it's that camaraderie, obviously, that can, bring myself from Australia, obviously
Yeah.
I'm from America, but moved to Australia, and then us chatting now, like just the fact that the community is just, it's so large, but it's still, or not large, it's so far apart and far and wide, but
Yeah.
still, no
Yep.
matter what, we can come together and chat. Uh, being on the other side of the world. So
Yeah.
it's quite remarkable. So coming into your first season, I think it was season, was it six? It was six, wasn't it?
7.
Seven, sorry.
Season 7.
How
Yep.
how were you feeling? Were you feeling confident? Were you feeling anxious?
Oh my God.
What was going on for you?
I literally, like, I lied to you not. My thought was, I had so many different emotions. In the back of my mind, I was like, I think I can do this. And in the front of my mind, the only thing I was thinking of, like, why am I even here? Like, I do not, I have no business being here right now. So all of the guys that I had been training with, uh, Noel Reyes, Mike Bernardo. I also met Michelle Warnke at the taping season 7 at that time, and so many of these other just like amazing guys. And then Joe Moravsky was there. That was the very first time I met him. And I just remember looking at all of them go, and I'm just like, if they're having this much trouble, then I don't have a chance. Like, I don't have a shot. Because at that time, I wasn't really hardcore training yet. You know, I had honestly gotten the call just on a whim. Like, when I competed, or I'm sorry, when I even applied to the show that year, it was just because my friend convinced me to do it. He was like, you should do it. Like, why not? What have you got to lose? And I honestly did not think I was going to get called. I was like, why would I get called to be on a TV show? Like, you know, like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll put a video in just to get you off my back. But, you know, like, it's not going to happen. And then I got called. Then I got called for the show. And I just remember thinking, oh, I really need to go to the gym now. And I was only going maybe like 2 days a week, maybe at the time. I was only going 2 days a week leading up to the show. And I felt like I had a decent amount of training under my belt to get through city qualifiers. I knew I didn't have a chance outside of that, but I was like, I should be able to do well at the city qualifiers. And then we got there, and yeah, I started looking at the obstacles and looking at all of these ninjas that I had been training with, really struggling with it. And then looking at the ninjas that I just knew from watching them on TV were also having trouble. I was like, yeah, I have no business here. Like, I have no business here. I have no shot. So I'd already kind of defeated myself in that purpose. But yeah, I got up on that platform. I said, all right, let's just see what happens. And it was the worst performance I think I've ever had. Ever had. It was awful. It was awful.
Well, so because I was reading, I think you said you went out on the third obstacle, or maybe the fourth.
Went out on the third obstacle. So at that time, it was still the quintuple steps. It wasn't the ascending steps yet. It was still just the regular quintuple steps. And I remember not knowing how I wanted to do them. I didn't know if I wanted to jump and stick to it and then jump to the next one and stick to it. I didn't know if I wanted to do the 3-step. I knew I wasn't doing the 1-step. I knew I wasn't going to do the 1-step, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got on there, and immediately they go 3, 2, 1, go. And I went, and then I remember right before I jumped on the step, I realized that I didn't have a plan. And I just went with it. And dude, I'm tripping on the steps. Like, I look like I have no idea what I'm doing on this first obstacle. No idea. So I'm tripping all through the steps, and I jumped to the rope to go to the platform, and I like barely grabbed the rope. I don't even know what I did. I like grabbed it. I don't know. I like barely grabbed it though. The second obstacle was the falling log. So wrap myself around it. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I just got to hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on to the falling log. And there was a point when you were supposed to dismount and kind of like toss yourself to the side. I didn't do that. So I held onto the log, made it to the platform, put my feet down, but I was still holding onto the log. And this thing weighs like at least like close to 60, 70 pounds, at least close to that. And it starts pulling me back into the like back onto the track. I'm like, oh no, I gotta let go. So I let go, and I try to like crouch and like grab the platform, which I do, but then the log, I have to duck, and it like bumps me in the head as it's, you know, going back behind me. So I pulled myself on the platform, and then it was snake crossing, and the obstacle, to my credit, it was covered in ice. I was competing at like 4 a.m. So, and it was like, dude, it was like mid to low 30s outside, 30 degrees. So I just remember getting on the obstacle, and I had no traction on this balance obstacle at all. None. I put my foot on, and as I'm putting as I'm taking my steps, my feet are literally sliding. They're sliding on the obstacle.
That's horrible.
And yeah, I was like, all right, like there's no way I'm getting through this. Like there's literally no way. So I think I made like a last ditch effort just to like jump to the platform. And if you've ever seen, I don't know if you've ever seen that, well, I'm sure you have, but that very famous video of the cat that's like standing in the window and looks like he wants to like jump to something, and he just like goes like this and goes nowhere. His feet just go out. That was me. That was me. I made this jump, this like big, just like leap for the platform, and I went nowhere. My feet just like slipped right from under me.
Man.
Man, I'm so glad they didn't show that on TV that season. I was like, I think I remember just sitting at home, just praying they wouldn't show that run. Like, please don't show that run. Please don't show that run. And they didn't. I was so happy. I think I'm one of the only contestants in American Ninja Warrior history that did not want their run to be shown. It's like, please don't show my run. Please don't show my run.
Oh man, well, I can say I had that same feeling for me in Australia on season two. It was a DQ on the third obstacle, and I was like,
Oh,
and I made it across, but I touched it. Well, you weren't allowed to touch it with your hand, and I
that's the worst.
and we were put into teams. Like they were trying to do this whole state versus state thing. It was really stupid, but whatever. My whole team hit buzzers except me. So I was like, it's just like it was like a double whammy. And it was like, how do you feel? You try to feel happy for people, but it's like, man.
Yeah, no, I get it, man.
So I know how you
I
feel.
understand that. Yeah.
But so with that, obviously, because I was reading your record. So what for you happened? What was there a switch? Because obviously you came
Pretty
next season
much.
and you carved up. So like
Yeah.
what stopped you from giving up again, if you remember?
If I remember, I I remember. I just remember as soon as I left, just being like, I think I was just embarrassed. Like I was like, I take so much pride in being this like high level athlete in one world,
Mm,
so that when I came over to American Ninja Warrior, there was a side of me that was like, I'll admit, I was to a sense a little arrogant because I was like, yeah, I wasn't like almost an Olympic level gymnast. Like this should be easy. Like
mm,
there's one of those everywhere you go, and I was unfortunately one of those. I was unfortunately one of them. I have no problem admitting it because I got so humbled
mm,
when I got into sport. I was like, I should be like, this looks easy. Like I should be able to do this. Like I
mm.
could do a freaking iron cross and like Maltese for like almost 30 seconds. Like I should be fine doing this stuff. Um, yeah, no, it wasn't the case, man. It wasn't the case at all. And I think after at season 7, my first season, I think I was so embarrassed that I was like, I cannot leave this way. Like I have to prove myself, not to anyone else, but just to myself. Like I am
Mm.
an athlete. Like I know I'm capable of this stuff. Like I have to make a better showing. So I think I just looked at that as an opportunity to just have something to work towards, like have some sort of goal something to train for. Because up to that moment, I really didn't have anything to train for. Like my gymnastics career was over.
Yeah.
I had realized that I had no aspiration in terms of being a competitive MMA fighter. I knew I didn't want to do that. Like so I wasn't necessarily like training to do anything in MMA other than just stay in shape.
Mm.
So Ninja kind of presented that opportunity for me just to have something to train for, have some sort of goal to work towards.
Mm.
And I think that was the moment that switch went off, because once I started looking at it that way, that was when I was like, no, I need to train. Like, let me figure out how to set up this training regimen where it's similar to gymnastics. Obviously, I worked in gymnastics. How can I apply everything I've learned in my 11 years of doing gymnastics and apply it to Ninja to hopefully take me somewhere?
Mm.
And I did. I sat down with Chris Wilczewski and he started training me. He was strictly my coach. And yeah, by the time season 8 came around a year later, I was like a completely different
Wow.
ninja.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
credit to you for, you know, turning on that switch because, I feel bad for a lot of new ninjas. I only had this lesson or clarity 3 years into doing ninja of,
Yeah.
okay, there's things I need to rethink. And,
Yeah.
uh, and I feel bad for a lot of new ninjas because they come in and a lot of them are intimidated and they go, oh, this is not for me. I'm going to give up without realizing, no, like none of us
Yeah.
have just come in and destroyed. I think maybe one person in American Ninja Warrior history. I think it was last season. I don't remember his name, but he went from rookie to stage 3. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but even then, how many years was he training beforehand? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that you accept that we all make mistakes and you can redeem yourself from them. So
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm really glad, you said all those things. It's like your whole life's just a big series of life lessons, and it's
Oh
it's,
my
it's
God,
awesome.
dude. I tell you, that's literally yeah, no, that's a perfect description of my life. It's just like from one stage of my life all the way to the next stage. It's like every moment, some sort of like huge life lesson.
Yeah, that's
It
amazing.
really is. For me, one of the greatest things about Ninja Warrior is like the symbolism of overcoming obstacles. I mean, by now it's almost cliche to say, but it really is. Like if you look at Ninja Warrior as a symbol of everything that you can overcome in just your everyday life or your regular life or whatever it is, whatever problem, whatever obstacle you have in front of you, if you can figure out how to get over that obstacle, then there's really nothing that you have to be afraid of. Like that's for
Mm,
me over the years. Like obviously I didn't have that same thought starting out, but
mm,
now like that's how I look at American Ninja Warrior. Whenever I see new ninjas come in now that get discouraged, I try to help them kind of have that vision when they are doing American Ninja Warrior. Look at it as a symbol of all of the things that you can do outside of the gym. Look at it as a symbol of all the things that you're able to accomplish in your own life, and
mm,
use that to motivate you in here. When in American Ninja Warrior, the sport, or Ninja Warrior in general, wherever you're from. Um, I love helping newer ninjas try to see it from that perspective. I think it's really powerful for them to be able to um, turn that thought of like, oh, I'm just not made for this, and turn it on to something bigger of like, you know what? Yeah, like that's a cool way of looking at it. Like, why should I quit because something's hard? Like I should just keep going and prove to myself that I'm capable of overcoming the obstacles.
no, 100%, man. You pretty much nailed it on the head. I'm conscious of your time because I realize now how late it is, and I
Oh,
could
you're
probably,
good,
I
man.
could, I could probably, I could probably talk to you for hours. So I mean, there's so much to unpack. But I have questions from people. I will get to them, but I gotta know some of these things. So
Yeah, man.
coming
Absolutely.
coming into your so season 8, and obviously season 9 was just stupidly good
Season
for
nine was
you.
my break. Yeah,
Was
that was my breakout year for sure.
what for you? I guess what for you did you have to go and start to work on for you then to unlock that? I guess that just next level for you. What was your I guess key obstacles or key fundamentals that you had to master to get to the
So
level you're at?
I've gone through so many different transitions of my ninja career, but going into season 9, to answer that question, I feel like the thing I tapped into was just enjoying doing ninja. Because up
Mm,
until I got to season 9, I never really hardcore looked at ninja as like a something I did just for fun in a way. Like
mm,
my very first season, it was just like, and like this is the introduction to ninja. Like, do I like it? Is it for me? So that was how season 7 was, and then season 8 was, all right, screw that. We need to go prove ourselves. Like, get it together. Let's get serious now. And then season 9 was like, all right, like, I did my thing last year. I did what I had set out to do, which was prove myself. And now it's like, let's just have fun. Let's just see what we're capable of. And that was one of the best mental. I think that was my best mental state in terms of just how I look at ninja. Like, that was one of the best places I've ever been in, other than this current season, mentally. So I think it was more so I was just able to just enjoy myself, and I didn't take anything too seriously. I like everything I did was just purely out of like, I wonder if I'm capable of doing that, and then I did it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I never like looked at anything like I have to do that, or I never looked at anything like, oh man, like if I don't do this, like then this is going to show this and this is going to mean that. Like I didn't have any of those feelings season 9. It was literally like, just enjoy the moment, bro. Just go and do your thing and have fun. Like this is such a huge like accomplishment to even make it here and just even be here. So just go have a good time.
mm,
And that was like, it showed, at season 9, I had that mindset, and I was able to just knock so many like things off my list that I didn't even realize were on my list at that time. I made it past stage 2 that year in Vegas, And then I got to stage 3, and that's when I realized I wasn't strong enough for stage 3. I just simply wasn't strong enough to do that stage at that point in my career. But everything else, it was just like, yeah, like, let's just see what we're capable of. I think I can fly that far. I think I can make it to that wing nut, So, yeah, I think season 9 was just about enjoying it. That was what unlocked that level for me, just learning how to enjoy the sport.
And obviously, do you felt like you carried that over into season 10? Obviously, it was,
Not
no, wasn't the
not
same.
yes and no. So season 10, I felt like season 10 was the very first time I started feeling pressure.
Okay.
So I had gotten rid of the whole underdog kind of, scenario of my career at that point. Now people know, like, hey, like, this is a strong athlete. Like, he's probably going to win, or he's probably going to make it to stage 3. Like, he's probably going to be one of the top guys. Like, this was the look that I had. This was the image that I had. Ninja really put a spotlight on me, which I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful for. But I wasn't able to handle it yet. I hadn't learned how to handle that kind of spotlight in Ninja because I was still so new to it at the time. I mean, I'm only at this point like 3 years in, season 10. I'm only 3 years in, really. So it's like, how do you handle like having the spotlight of, this is one of the top guys, like, look out for him? Because I didn't feel that way yet. I didn't feel that way. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had gotten rid of, now we're doing this for fun. And then season 10 turned into, okay, like, now we need to like not let people down. Now we need to like make sure that like we're not like a fluke. Like, I don't want to be a fluke, we need to make sure like that doesn't happen. So still did well season 10. I made it up the 18-foot, and I finished my very first city finals. That was a huge accomplishment. But then stage 2 in Vegas came around, and that's when they had the water walls. And
yeah, it was devastating.
Yeah, that was I had been beating myself up pretty much that entire trip because I knew that was going to be something that was going to play a factor. I knew I was going to have a problem making it through stage 1. I knew I wasn't going to have a problem making it past the wing nuts. It was pretty much the exact same course from the previous season, pretty much the same exact course. So I knew I had the strength and the endurance to make it past those obstacles. But then, the water walls came up, and I'm like I didn't train for that. Like, I have asthma. Like, I literally need to breathe. Like, how can I hold my breath and expect to make it through this? So I was terrified personally. I just remember being so scared because I know how my wind feels by the time I make it to the end of stage 1, by the time I make it to the end of stage 2. Like, I've been there before, so I know what it feels like. And there was a part of me where I was like, man, like, I just don't know, And then I got there, and what I was afraid to have happen ended up happening. I had an asthma attack because I was holding my breath. That's how asthma attacks come on. It's because your heart is beating so fast, and you're not able to get enough oxygen in. So it sends all of these panic signals to your brain that your body's in danger. And then that's when the asthma attacks really happen. And then you can't breathe. You really can't breathe. So that was what happened. I'm like, well, this sucks, man. Like, I made it to stage 3 last year. I didn't make it this year. Like, this stinks. And yeah, I don't think that even if I did have fun with it and I had that mindset of having fun, I still think that result would have happened anyway, because that became a health issue and not so much like a mental issue. Was a health issue. But how I handled it, I wish I had that like, let's have fun mindset, because it would have been so much easier to handle. I remember when I fell on stage 3, I came out of the pool laughing, smiling, like, this was so awesome. And in this particular season 10, when I failed the water walls, I came out of the water and I was just like, I just felt like I let everyone down. I felt like I had let myself down. I just felt like there were so many negatives in terms of failing versus positives that season. And that was really hard to deal with. Really hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So did that fear maybe of the water obstacle, or the everything you were saying, did you feel that carried over into season 11? Because I remember you saying throughout that season, you weren't feeling
Yeah.
your best, and yeah.
Yeah, season 11, it wasn't so much. I hadn't gotten over it. It sounds
Yeah,
so
okay.
weird. It sounds so weird to say, but like I just felt like I hadn't truly gotten over it yet. I hadn't gotten over that. Like now we're in a new season, and I can put all these things behind me. Now it was more of a like, I don't think I'll be able to live up to season 9. Like, I just don't think I'll be able to do it. So I kind of went into this like self-sabotaging kind of mindset season 11, where I was like, like, just go out there and just do your best. Like, whatever happens, happens. But in the back of my mind, I was just like, it's not like you're going to win anyway, or it's not like you're going to do as good as you did season 11 anyway. So just go, like, do your best and see what happens. So I had gone into this like huge self-sabotaging frame of mind. And I think that whole season, it was just more so about survive, just find a way to survive, which luckily I did. I had a horrible season, but I was able to get through season 11, and it was kind of cleansing in a way. I think I needed to go through that process of just having like a truly terrible year to be able to put things in perspective and just wipe the slate clean. And I know that's weird to say. I know people won't understand that, but like sometimes you need to go. Now, this is about to sound super cliche, but sometimes you need to go through hell to get to heaven. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I needed to reach the lowest point of my ninja career in order to be able to rebuild myself from like the ground up. Like, I needed that to happen, and it worked. Like, this season going into season 12, like, under the circumstances that it happened, the mindset that I had this year was so similar to it wasn't exactly like season 9, but it was the closest to season 9 that I've ever had. And I'm able to hold on to the experiences. I wish I could talk about season 12, but it hasn't like completely aired yet. But I'm able to hold on to so many good experiences from this season, despite whatever happened. And that wouldn't have happened had season 11 not happened.
Yeah. Well, I just watched your run on a YouTube, man. That's a dope looking course, man. Those new, what do they call I mean, obviously they're like honeycombs. I'm assuming that's probably what they call them.
That's what they're called, honeycombs.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah.
that was wicked.
Dude, I'm so excited for people to see this season. This was, for me, one of my favorite. I did a Q&A yesterday where people were asking me, like, what's your favorite course and what are your favorite, season?
Like, honestly, it's this season. It was everything that I did this season. I can't tell you guys because it hasn't all aired yet.
I know.
But pretty much everything from this season. So
yeah, I remember
the obstacles were so awesome. So basically what they did is they just took all of the new obstacles from the cities that would have filmed had COVID not happened and just put them in one spot here.
Oh, God.
Yeah, which is awesome, which is phenomenal for us because we all get to experience these really, really cool obstacles and see all these really, really cool obstacles in real time, which normally we don't get to do. Normally, each season, we get to experience maybe 2 new obstacles on a qualifying and city finals course, maybe. Normally, it's just repeats of, another city's obstacles from the previous season with maybe 1 new addition.
Yeah.
But we've seen them before. This was the very first season where there were just multiple obstacles that none of us had ever seen. None of us. No one had any beta. No one had any like tips like, yeah, you should try it like this, because we were all experiencing them for the very first time, which was really cool and really fun.
Oh man, it was epic. I mean, especially that little move you did on the honeycomb on the middle one. You got caught.
Yes.
Like, oh shoot! Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna wind up my legs, and I was like, that was brilliant.
Dude, it was so weird because like I had already decided I didn't want to go for time. I had already decided I didn't want to go for time. So we had everyone. I remember watching everyone. We were all like practicing like the kind of like mimicking the obstacle on how we should like move our bodies over in the warm up area. And I remember seeing ninja from the back. Like we had this little TV monitor and we were watching each other. I remember watching so many ninjas like get to it, and they don't show, like, obviously all of this is edited, right? So they don't really show like the struggle, but there were so many ninjas who got there and were just like like fighting it, like really trying to turn this thing. And it was taking some ninjas like forever to do it, like because they were just fighting it. And I was like, you know, like, I think this is an obstacle where you just need to be a little bit more collected. You know what I mean? Like not try to fight the obstacle so much and just kind of like go with the motion of it.
Yeah.
So with the exception of my run, or no, I take that back. My run and maybe 3 other ninjas that entire night, we were the only ones. I think I could be wrong. I think that didn't have an edited version of how long it actually took to go off that obstacle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nah, man, it was such a cool little move. And I was like, I recognized how clever it was and what you did and how you utilized your body's sort of momentum to let that do the work for you. I think that's the thing. I think that's what I've learned personally, especially being, you know, I'm 5'2", so not the tallest athlete. And, you know, you have to start to think, how can you make the obstacle do the work for you?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, because it's like,
that's literally my style, man. That is literally my whole approach to ninja is, how can I do the least amount of work possible? Like I see so many ninjas, like you were just like mentioning, like I would consider myself a smaller guy compared to the other ninjas like on the show. Like I think I'm one of the smaller ones. I watch guys just completely muscle through obstacles and just like their bodies around. Like Adam Rell is a great example. Like and he's very fluid, don't get me wrong. Like the guy flows on these obstacles. He makes them look effortless, but the amount of energy I feel like he exerts on some of these obstacles, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So my approach has always been, how can I just do the least work possible? You know what I mean? I just feel like that works, especially for smaller guys.
Well, one day maybe I'll get to the lache distance you can. I might have to. My arms might still be back there. I'll just try and catch it with my teeth or something.
It's all, I tell people all the time, man. It's technique. I learned that very early on in ninja. Like, I'm lucky to have my gymnastics background because I think that's the reason why I'm able to get so far. There's not doing anything spectacular in my laches, I don't think, other than using a certain technique in gymnastics called a Tkachev tap.
Okay.
In gymnastics is called a Tkachev tap, where you basically just set yourself up to transfer your momentum on the other side of the bar. So in ninja, I just cut that short, and I have that. Instead of sending me up for height, I have it send me out for distance. So it's really just about a technique. It's nothing to do with strength or ability. It's literally all about technique. I am happy to teach it to anyone who wants to learn.
Hey man, when I put it out that, you know, we were chatting and like people were like, okay, I need to know about this gymnastic stuff. I'll start smashing through some of these questions and I'll send you on your way. So the first one I have is, what gymnastic movement do you think ninjas should learn? I think you probably just mentioned the secret.
Yes, and my microphone. Can you say that one more time?
So what gymnastic movement do you think ninjas should learn?
Ooh, what gymnastics? I would say just a basic tap swing, honestly. Like just a basic gymnastics tap swing, I think is the thing that has helped me throughout multiple different moments throughout ninja, not just with laches, but with salmon ladder, with different move, even just different kipping moves. Just when I try to take some of the weight off my arms, if I'm starting to get a little tired, like I'll do some sort of hip movement that I would normally do on like the high bar to take some of the weight off and give myself that moment of like relief on my arms. Like, you know, something. I feel like one of the most utilized movements in ninja is how you move your hips, like through obstacles. So I would say just a tap swing and different types of swings on the rings and on the high bar.
Okay, 100%. I agree. All right, training tips to be like him on the wing nuts.
On the wing nuts.
Yeah.
Again, this all goes back to a tap swing. Different way. A lot of the way that I moved on the wing nut was how I moved my body on rings, on the still rings, you know, learning how to swing, learning how to like use my hips, tap my toes up. Like these are all things you learn in gymnastics. So I feel like, or on the rings in men's gymnastics. So I feel like that would be a good place to start, was learning how to swing on the rings.
No, 100%. Especially like, you know, especially in gymnastics, you know, how like the rings are so like they're so long, and then you're trying to like, trying to build up a swing from nothing. I mean, that's so tricky. What's this next one? Was there something specific you did in your training that made everything click? Which I don't know if we touched on that at all.
Yes and no. So I have learned, just based off my style, that everyone is different based off their background and training. And the thing that I did for me that clicked with me in ninja was I went back to my roots of gymnastics, and I started approaching ninja the way that I moved like a gymnast, and it started making everything easier. So when I got a ninja, I tried to do things like a parkour artist or a free runner. I tried to do laches where it was like you let go with one hand and then you go, you know, you go 1, 2 to the next thing, which worked for some people. I mean, there are some ninjas that get very far with that technique. And then, but it wasn't working for me because I don't have a parkour or free runner background. I wasn't able to get it. But the second that I went to my background in gymnastics, all of a sudden now I'm making progress. And that goes for anybody's background. I feel like climbers, you know, I remember talking to Megan Martin, and the thing that clicked for her was she started training obstacles the way that she trains competitions and rock climbing. So it makes sense for a person to go back to their background and start training in a way that they're used to, and start approaching obstacles in a way that makes sense to them, instead of trying to understand somebody else's, somebody else's technique or somebody else's style of training or competing or whatever it is, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different approach to how they do these obstacles. There's no like one right way to do Ninja Warrior. Like that's the thing. There's no one right way to do it. So I feel like for a person's like thing that makes them click, the click that happens in a person's training, you have to figure out what works for you personally, you know, like experiment around, train with different types of athletes. I must have trained with like, God, I must have trained with like 1,000 different kinds of ninjas before I actually figured this out. And that's why I said earlier, like for me, honestly, it was like a year into ninja before I was like, oh, I get it now. Like it took me a while. It took me a while before I like figured it out.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I'm 4 years in and I'm still trying to work it out. So,
and if you don't have a background, I would just tell someone like, get one. Like go take a class outside of Ninja Warrior. You're like you've never been in a sport before. Cool, go rock climb. Go become a rock climber. Like do some recreational classes. Go do some recreational classes of gymnastics. See if you fit there. Go do some recreational classes in track. Like something. I think it's I think some great supplemental training for ninja is to do another sport that complements it very well.
Oh, 100%. This is a good one. Tips on avoiding shoulder injuries with ninja being obviously, very shoulder dominant. Do you have any
With
shoulder
weights,
issues?
I used to. So I never. It was weird because I never really. I mean, I had my issues with my shoulders my sophomore year of ninja. So season 8, like I had my issues, but then afterwards, like I stopped. It kind of like went away.
Yeah.
But I started lifting weights. I started getting my shoulders strong in terms of pushing. There's
Mm,
no pushing in ninja. Like it's all hanging. It's all
mm,
hanging and explosive throws, and that creates a lot of muscle imbalances. So you get really strong in some areas of your shoulder, but then the areas of your shoulder that needs to be protected, they don't have any padding. They don't have any armor around it. So
mm.
create some armor around your shoulder. Start pushing. Start doing shoulder exercises. I go to the gym. I know, my goal is never to get big per se. I'm not trying to put on like mass and
Mm.
get bulky or anything, but I just want to create enough muscle around these areas that are getting tapped so that they have enough armor around them to protect them. So I
Okay.
think one of the greatest things that people can do to protect their shoulders is just get their shoulders strong.
Mm.
Do some shoulder presses, like just do a nice shoulder routine, like spend 1 day a week just lifting weights on your shoulders.
No, I like that. That's really good. What's this one here? How do we increase our lache distance to start getting anywhere near 5 meters? So obviously 5 meters for us is probably that, yeah, was that probably 17 feet, I think, or
17 feet, yeah.
something
17
like that.
17 and a half is where I'm 17 and a half is where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where this dude's starting from, so
yeah, I was gonna say that's hard. That's so
that's
hard because I don't know how to answer that actually. I think if I could give anyone like advice on increasing distance, do a lache, do a lache from a bar to just nowhere. Like put a crash mat out as far as you can, as far as you think you're gonna go.
yeah.
Draw a line on the ground and just lache from that and try and pass the line, because that's how we teach laches initially, right? That's how we
Mm,
teach laches. We don't have anyone just lache and just throw themselves to another bar. We have them get used to throwing themselves off a bar.
mm,
So um that's what you got to do for distance. You know what I mean? Like I would never tell anyone to go from an 8 foot lache to a like 14 foot lache. You know what I mean?
mm,
I would never tell anyone to do that. I would tell someone just like first see how far you can get, because there's a lot of technique that has to change from an 8 foot like lache to a 14 foot lache.
oh
There's a
man.
big change in the technique. There's a big change in the power. So
Mm,
you need to first figure that out. Figure out the technique that you need. And then once you figure that out, yeah, then start doing the lache and seeing, putting your hands on it, seeing, if you'll be able to grab the bar. And if you're just not making it to a certain distance, if you're not like making it far enough, if you find that you're a foot away from a certain distance,
mm,
again, what motion are we doing with laches? We're taking a bar and we're throwing it past our heads, right?
mm,
So get some kettlebells, get some dumbbells, and do shoulder extensions up to your shoulders. That's what we used to do in gymnastics. We used to do a lot of like shoulder exercises where we got ourselves strong by taking dumbbells or something and just opening
mm.
up our shoulders and go over our head, because that's a lot of strength. Maybe you're not strong enough to throw the bar and throw yourself in that motion to get the distance that you need. So
Mm.
yeah, there's a long list, man. there's a long list, but I think those two might be the best bet for this person.
Yeah, and I think especially like once you start hitting, I don't know, for me, 3 meters was big for me. That's probably I'm not sure, probably between 10 and 12 feet. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
But like once you start pushing past three, at least in my head, it's like, okay, well, what do I have to change? What has to get bigger to make it to
Yes.
4 meters? So I feel like
Yeah.
once you reach that point where you can almost muscle your way to a distance, that's when you have to start refining things. The technique, if the technique is not there,
Exactly.
it's not going to happen. And I try and tell people, I
Exactly.
said, you can't do this in 2 or 3 swings. Like, you can't do 2 or 3 swings and expect to be hitting your distances, or obviously you've met Ashlyn Herbert.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got a
Ashland's
little.
another beast.
Oh man, absolute weapon. So like, you watch you guys, like, you don't do 2 swings, 3 swings. Like, it's
That's it. And that's the thing. Like I said, the technique is drastically different from 8 foot to 14 foot. Like, it's a huge change. I'm jumping up, I'm doing a tap swing, and then I'm going for 8 feet. When I'm doing 14 and when I'm doing 17 and a half, I'm casting to a handstand. And then that's a completely different technique. I'm not doing the same type of swing anymore. So it's like, you have to learn that first. You got to learn the prerequisite, which is the tap swing first, before you ever think about, pushing for those distances.
100%.
I'm working on beating my world record right now. And that's what I'm doing. I'm currently figuring out a new technique to beat 17 and a half feet, because I've gotten to the point now where 17 and a half feet is my max, and I'm not able to go any farther than that, because my technique is fine for 17 and a half feet, and I'm muscling it, everything that I have. I'm giving everything I have throw. So now I need to figure out a different technique that's going to help me get another half a foot or foot. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's all about technique. All about technique.
That's exciting.
Yeah, let's see. Pray for my shoulders for sure. We're talking about strengthening shoulders. Hopefully, I've done a good job of that.
Yeah, man, you might need Arnold Schwarzenegger's shoulders or something before you.
Right.
Before you attempt it. All right, so this next one, you don't have to answer. It's it's a funny one. I'm gonna call him out too. Mike Ravert. Wanted to ask you this one. He goes, if he had to go gay for a ninja, who would it be?
Mike would ask this question. Oh man,
I'm calling him out, and the reason why I think he's asking is I think he wants to know if it's him. I'm gonna make that assumption.
Man,
so
you can't. The pool's too big to choose from. All the ninja boys are studs, man. Pool's too big. I can't even choose just one. Pool's too big, man.
That's a clever answer. I like that. So Mike, if you're listening to this, you're included in that. So you can take that how you want. All right, what have I got? Oh man, I'll try and smash through these, man. What time is it for you?
No, you're good, dude. You're good. I'm a night out anyway, man.
Are you?
Not. Yeah, okay. Dude. Yeah. Like I said, whenever we're training, it's usually around these hours anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. I don't, because I feel terrible. I'm really enjoying this. What's this next one? Does it add pressure when you're we did discuss this. Does it add pressure when you're considered one of the best in ninja? I guess
100%. Yeah. I think at a certain point you learn to deal with it a little bit better. I'm just getting to that point. I'm 6 years in now, and I feel like this was the very first year where I finally kind of got a handle on that. Like, I had never done it before. I'd always struggled with the pressure, but this was the very first year. And I give credit to Jessie Graff, because I spent a lot of time with Jessie Graff last summer. I stayed with her and with her in LA at her place, and we just became really good friends. And she really helped me with that, because I was able to explain to her, like, how do you deal with this? You know what I mean? Like, how, you've been at the top for a long time. Like, this pressure, like, I just don't know how to handle it. And she gave me a lot of tips and just helped me change my perspective on how I look at things. But it takes time, dude. It takes, when you're considered one of the best, for some people are just naturally gifted at being able to use that for fuel, or use that for motivation. And for some people it affects them negatively, and unfortunately I was one of those types that it affected negatively. But luckily we are out of that stage, and now it's definitely getting better. But a couple of seasons ago, And last season, yeah, no, that was hard. It definitely had a hard time dealing with it.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, I can't say I'm at that level.
Yeah.
I can't say where I'm
You'll
at a
get there,
level
man. Trust me.
where I feel like that. But I think for me personally, especially I think when especially when kids try, kids come up to you or whatever.
Yeah.
I try and remind myself that I'm not the best, even if people tell you
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
amazing. I'm like, as in me, as in I know, like, man, is it like I can name you 50 ninjas right now
No, dude,
that
I'm
just like
100% that way.
that
Yeah, no,
that will just obliterate me. And
dude,
it's,
I'm the exact same way. Like literally, like I can name off the back of my hand like ninjas. I have a whole arm that I can just go up with ninjas. You know what I mean? That I'm like, no, he's better than me. He's better than me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
she's better than me. Like, I have so many names that I would just right off the bat be like, no, like stop paying attention to me. Like, look at them. Like, look at what they're doing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it gets easier over time, though. Definitely gets easier over time.
yeah. I can imagine. I'll let you know in 10 years.
Trust me. Yeah, you will, man. You will understand soon enough.
This is a good one. Maybe I don't know if we touched on this, but who motivates / inspires you? There might be a few people on that list, but is there
Yeah,
one?
there's so many. In Ninja or just in life in general or
It didn't specify. I would imagine.
in
How about
Ninja?
one person in Ninja and then one person in life?
Um, in Ninja. Oh God, yeah, man. That's so hard.
Yeah,
I would have to say, uh, I can't choose one. I can't choose one. I literally can't choose one.
all
But
right.
right
We'll make
now,
it two. We'll make it two because you got two
okay,
parents. So we'll.
oh man, right now the ninjas that are sticking out are Jimmy Choi, and
Amazing.
Kyle Schultze, the Deaf Ninja Kyle Schultze, because they both. One of the things I've always had a hard time dealing with in Ninja was not not so much making excuses, because I don't make excuses for having asthma or any of those things. I for a long time tried to hide the fact that I had asthma, but
Mm,
one of the things that I've always had a hard time dealing with is just in my own head and in my own just heart, sometimes feeling that being a little upset or being a little angry that I had to work so much harder than other ninjas, um, especially season 11 when I failed the
mm,
water walls. I was like, this sucks. Had I not had asthma, I would have been fine. I would have made it there. Who knows how far I would have gone then, because I had been training so hard for stage 3, and I was so ready for stage 3 this year or that year. And I
mm.
just would get so angry, just at the circumstance, like, this sucks, man. I have asthma, like, God. But then you look at somebody like Jimmy Choi, who has Parkinson's,
Mm,
and he's still crushing it, you know what I mean, with having his tremors. Like, he's still able to go out there and just do amazing. And not only that, but like, the guy does things that I can't even do. Like, he's so strong. I don't know if anyone follows his social media. Jimmy Choi is his name. Please
mm,
follow his social media. The guy is phenomenal. The things that he can do, it blows my mind, especially having Parkinson's.
mm.
So he's someone that inspires me to just keep going, no matter what it is that you have that maybe other ninjas can't relate to, that you might have to work a little bit harder because of. Just don't make excuses, don't get down on yourself, don't feel sorry for yourself, just keep working, you know what I
Mm,
mean? You'll be fine. So he's definitely someone that inspires me. And then Kyle Schultze, he's deaf. So he things are a lot harder for him, because he, in my opinion, he's got to feel so alone sometimes. You know what I mean?
mm.
Imagine just being in a room of silence and not having anyone to communicate with you, because not I mean, everyone doesn't know sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Imagine just having to figure things out on your own. You know what I mean? And that's not so much the case for him, because he does have people there helping them. But I can't imagine how many instances where he's been in a spot in Ninja where he's been on an obstacle and he has no idea how to get off this obstacle. And it's
mm,
like, what do we do when that happens to us? We listen to our coaches on the side. We listen to
mm,
everyone else say, like, you're not doing this or do that, or you're right there, dismount. He doesn't have that. He's
mm.
up there by himself. And to me, that is so incredibly terrifying to think sometimes. And it's like, there's been so many times, dude, where I've been on an obstacle, and if it wasn't for Chris Wolczewski or Michael Torres screaming something, or Joe Moravsky screaming something at me right before I was about to go, I probably wouldn't have gotten through it. So Kyle, to me, is someone that is like so inspiring, because it's like he has to do this sometimes by himself. Literally, he's out there on his own by himself sometimes. So that's just so inspiring to me to see how dedicated he is, and how strong he is, and how determined he is to set an example of someone who is deaf, and that they still can go far in the sport, because he is a hell of an athlete. He's so good at what he does. So those two guys specifically right now stand out the most in terms of inspiration among a whole list of people, among a whole list.
That's justified.
And then,
100%.
and then outside world, my parents, man. Just for the story that we touched on earlier, like they are the hardest workers I've ever seen, I've ever known. So definitely my parents.
Nah, man. I think fantastic decisions. I agree, man. I mean, damn, your parents. I mean, my mother's done a lot for me, and in my stepdad, and I'm lucky. I've had 3 father figures in my life for the last couple of years.
Awesome.
So I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of people that help me. So I totally understand. What's this next one here? Considering so many great ninjas do, I think they just missed the word, should I be doing gymnastics? And I think the short answer is yes.
Why not? Well, like, why not? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, supplement. I feel like ninjas should have, supplemental training regimens. Like, for me, I have my gymnastics background, so I don't so much have to dive into gymnastics because I have a background in that. So if anything, if I do gymnastics, I'm going just for fun. But something that I like to use is rock climbing. I didn't do rock climbing when I was younger, so that's a great way to build strength in the forms that you really can't build anywhere else. And not only that, but it's great for problem solving. It's great for problem solving, being on a problem or an obstacle where you don't freak out, you don't panic, you figure it out while you're on it. You take those little things that you learned in rock climbing to be on an obstacle and still like kind of rest. For me, I utilize a dead hang all the time. I always utilize my dead hang. I always shake out, and I never would have learned that had I not gone to rock climbing. So that's what I was saying earlier, like, hey, like you that you feel that you're weak in a certain area, go to this background and figure it out, go train it, go try something new. So go do gymnastics, man. Go check it out.
Oh, absolutely. This is a good question.
Not be disappointed.
Yeah, no, this is a good one, because I don't do this, but someone says, should I train ninja without chalk, being that the show doesn't allow it?
100%. Yes. So our season starts to film in March, right?
Yeah.
And for my region, we don't go until late April, sometimes early or late April, depending on the year. But from February until the end of my season, I don't train with chalk.
Okay.
Yeah. So from February till the time that my season is over, I get my hands and I get myself used to training with no chalk at all. I go in there. If I do anything at all, I will just rub the ground, or I'll go in the bathroom. I'll, put some soap and water on my hands and just wash my hands really good, get all the moisture and everything off, all the oils, and then I'll just get right to work. But no, do not get used to training. If you have any aspirations of being on the show or just being better at the show, train with no chalk. I think that's a weapon. I really do. I think that's a really good secret weapon to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, I think one of my training partners, Dan Mason, I don't know if you met him. He was on Team Australia the last time when he came over. He's been training without chalk a lot lately.
Yeah.
And, his
it's smart.
Well, I thought he was going to win last season. Unfortunately, he had made a slight error, but that's how.
Ninja.
That's
ninja.
Yeah, well, we had a very interesting season. I mean, we had 3.
Ben won, right?
Yeah, Ben took it out, but we had
Yeah.
3 people get to Mount Midoriyama and all climb under 30 seconds. So Ben obviously was just the speedy one. We had 2 people with perfect seasons. So basically, just like Jeff Britton, just everything done. And
That's awesome.
unfortunately, one of them literally missed it by a second. I think he went to hit the buzzer, missed it, went, oh shoot, and then hit it. And I was like, literally, it was just a second difference. So
No.
yeah, no, it was, but yeah, no,
That is a nightmare.
oh,
That is a
it was a
nightmare.
$400,000 error.
Oh.
Oh man! All right, last one for you. I'll send you on your way. Is it better to train obstacles individually or create your own course run? I think there's probably a valid reason for both. But what do you think?
I personally, I do both.
Yeah.
So this is what I was, again, I mean, it's a lot of these questions have me touch back on something I've said before, but
Mm.
I like to go back to my background in gymnastics. That's how I like to train ninja. That's what works for me.
Mm.
And in gymnastics, what you do is you do full routines and then you do half routines, and then you just work on individual skills or problem areas in your routine.
Mm.
So how I break that up into ninja when I'm training for the season is I do full course runs, half course runs, and then I train just the obstacles in that course run that I just did that gave me a little bit of trouble, or maybe I wasn't the most efficient at, and I try and figure that out. And that's how I structure my training. I like to do a full course run, just get it out the way, like maybe
Mm.
do 2 full course runs, and then I'll break it in half, give myself a little bit of a break, go through those half course runs, and I'll just try and run them as fast as I possibly can.
Mm.
And then once I do that, I like to just break it up. So I think it's good to do that because you're training yourself to run a course. You know what I mean? You're training yourself to run a course. You're training yourself to be efficient at course running. You're training your body to know what a course is going to feel like, whether that's pump wise or cardiovascular side, wise. Um, and then when you do the obstacles individually, you're training your obstacle awareness. I like to call it obstacle awareness because there's a million different ways to do an obstacle most of the
Mm.
time. So you're able to just figure out 1,000 different ways to, overcome something you might see on the show. So I think it's important to do both. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, man, everything you've touched on just nails it. Nail. Just perfect. Mate, I mean, I got no. I mean, I feel like we could just keep going, but I'm conscious. I'm conscious. You probably, I don't know. You want to watch TV or play video games, or I don't know.
Nah,
What's
man,
your
nah, dude.
what's your
I'm
night?
going to
What do you like to
I'm
do?
going to get some food, get some get a little midnight snack in me, and
Nice.
then just prepare for training tomorrow, man. I'm finally back in the gym. I took some time off from, after the season. I always like to take a couple of months off. So I took my couple of months off and now I'm back getting ready for our National Ninja League over here. So yeah, back
Mm.
in the gym in the morning, man.
Oh, 100%. What's going on with all the acting stuff you were doing? Yeah, obviously, I know
So
with COVID, obviously things were on hold, but
yeah, I was gonna say it's all slowed down now. Unfortunately, it really sucks. It's like as soon as you start to make headway in something, all of a sudden, something happens, and it's like just kidding, You're just not.
yeah.
You can go back to before, but yeah, I was doing a lot of stunt work in New York. I'm in Philadelphia, so it's only for those of you, anyone who doesn't know, New York is literally like less than 2 hours away from Philadelphia. So
Mm.
I was traveling back and forth. This is before COVID, traveling back and forth to New York to do a lot of different stunt work gigs, some commercials, some modeling, and I was working on trying to become leading a lead role actor, or a
Mm.
supportive role actor, something speaking. I wanted to get in front of the camera and actually have a role in the film other than just like jumping around or going through explosions or something like that, which is fun, don't get me wrong, but I've always had a dream of bringing a character to life.
Mm.
So I was working on that, and then COVID happened and just slowed everything down, and so a lot of progress that I made has unfortunately come to a standstill. But hopefully, as things are starting to open up, New York is finally starting to open up.
Oh,
a
good.
little bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully things will start to happen again.
Oh, that's good. Well, I think, everything we've discussed, you seem to have always found a way, no matter
Dude,
what has been thrown at you, you have just gone and found a way. And, I really appreciate this time you've given me. I've learned a lot.
Definitely, man.
Just now, you think, oh yeah, I know stuff, but
Yeah.
just
Conversations,
highlighting
man.
what I don't
Conversations are the
know.
most powerful thing, dude.
No,
Conversations are the most powerful thing.
absolutely. Well, man, look, I'll let you go. Thank you so much again. I'm glad we could finally do this. I'd love to catch up again after the season.
Yep.
After the season, so we can discuss some of these
Yes.
obstacles.
I'm so excited for everyone to see this season, man. These obstacles, like, oh my God, they're honestly like my favorite. That like of my 6 years on Ninja, these are my favorite obstacles. These are my favorite course runs. Just stick with it, people. Like, just keep watching. Like, it gets better.
Man.
Like, every episode gets better.
That's correct. Even Akbar was like, yo, like, he's like, man, this is probably the best season. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, man. It's like, he goes, this, I probably shouldn't say anything. There's this obstacle called the corkscrew. And I was like,
Dude, oh my God.
And your reaction was the same reaction Nick Hansen had.
It's man, like there's no way to really describe it other than you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait and see. It's one of those obstacles where you're just like, what were they thinking? Like, how did they even come up with that? Like where did that even come from? You know what I mean? Like, it's probably, I don't know if it was an obstacle design challenge obstacle or not. I don't know if it was. I can't remember if it was, but man, this is one of the most interesting. This obstacle and one other are one of the most interesting obstacles that I have ever seen.
Wow.
I've ever seen on the show. It's so cool, especially, and I think too, a lot of us are able to appreciate it because of the fact that they didn't have very much time to try and pull the season together at all. Like, they had to pull together as fast as possible, and what they came up with, I think none of us were expecting. Like, none of us were expecting any of the things that they did. So that just blew us away even more,
Oh, 100%. Mate, go get some food. Go enjoy yourself. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely catch up soon.
100%. All right, buddy. Take care, bro.
All right, bro.
Peace.
See you later, man.
All right.